Chinyere shouted at Chidi's wife, saying, "Chidi is my only child, and I won't let go of him." Becky and Debbie walked up to their father Chidi, the day they turned 18 years, with a legal document which indicated that they were changing their surname to another, claiming that they just found their real father.
This is how it all began.
In the village of Akarachi in Igboland, there lived a woman named Chinyere, and her only child, Chidi. Chinyere instructed his son Chidi not to marry from their village. She said she wanted a daughter-in-law from afar. Chidi was excited when his mom Chinyere approved his relationship with Tola from the Yoruba land. The wedding preparation began immediately, and we had a beautiful wedding ceremony. After the wedding ceremony, Chidi went to his mom to inform her of their plans for the honeymoon. He told his mom that he had already booked a hotel room for 2 weeks in Asaba, which was just an hour drive from his mom's place. He said, "We decided to do the honeymoon closer to your base to afford us the opportunity to see you again before moving to our house in Abuja." On hearing that, Chinyere started crying as she said, "Can't you do the honeymoon in my house? How would you leave me here all alone to myself to Asaba for 2 weeks when this big building belongs to you?" Chidi said, honeymoon was supposed to be a time that only the newly wedded couple would be together without any distractions, and that was the reason why we paid that much for the hotel room, so we can stay away from all distractions. Chinyere increased the intensity of her cry as she asked Chidi if she's now the distraction. Tola, the new bride, had been listening to their conversation from afar, and when she couldn't take it anymore, she went to them and said, "Mama, we will stay here with you. I understand the bond between you and Chidi being your only child." She further said, "The 2 weeks will afford me the opportunity to learn and understand your culture and your native food." Chinyere was very excited, and she said, "Tola, you are a good daughter. May God bless you for me." Chidi was happy at the turn of the event, as he said, "No wonder my mom insisted that I must marry another tribe. Thank you, Tola, for your understanding." The 2 weeks were fun for all of them. Tola enjoyed strolling around the village. She loved watching the activities of the local market day. She had learnt a few greetings in Igbo dialect, and she had mastered the cooking of Chinyere's best food and soup. Chinyere told Chidi that if not that both of you had to resume back to the office in Abuja, I would have asked both of you to stay with me here. Both laughed as Tola responded to her, saying you would soon come to Abuja to visit us. After all, you are no more doing farm work. They left for Abuja on a Friday, planning to resume work on Monday. As soon as they left, Chinyere said she would soon pay them a surprise visit in Abuja. All through the night, Chinyere couldn't sleep. The thought of Chidi's well-being was on her mind, and she said she can't entrust the well-being of her only child in the hand of a little girl. She got up from bed at 4 a.m. and started packing all her luggage. What did they even know about marriage? No experience, no qualifications, no nothing, she murmured. As early as 6 a.m. she was already at the park, and by 4 p.m. she had arrived in Abuja safely. Her phone battery was dead, so she sat at the park charging her phone. As soon as she switched on the phone, Tola called to check on her and to appreciate her for the love and care she got from her during their stay with her in the village, but she was surprised to hear that she was already in Abuja. She informed her husband about it, and both of them drove to the park to bring her home. Chidi said to his mom, "Coming to Abuja without informing anyone is very risky. Coupled with the fact that you have never traveled out of your state before, I was shocked when I heard that you were already in Abuja." Chinyere said, "As soon as you left for Abuja yesterday, my house became so empty, so I decided to pay you a visit, especially at this time when you would need my advice on so many things. Marriage is never a child's play. You need me around you." Tola had moved her mother-in-law's luggage into the guest room. She then asked her to come over to the room in order to freshen up. Chinyere asked her to show her to all the rooms in their flat. Tola took her round the house as they were gisting about her long-hour trip to Abuja and the height of the house. She asked how come you chose to live at the first floor of a 3-story building. Living up here is quite dangerous. Tola answered, we love it up here. I was the one that advised my husband that we should go for it. At 12 a.m., the knock at the door woke Chidi and Tola from sleep, as both chorused in fear. Who is at the door? Chinyere answered, I'm the one. Please open the door. Tola jumped out of the bed to attend to her, thinking she needed help, and as soon as she opened the door, Mama rushed in with her to wrappers and said, I don't know what they planted into the foundation of this house. Oh, I couldn't sleep. It's as if someone was chasing me in my dream. Tola and Chidi were confused and dumbfounded, and before they could say anything, Chinyere had spread one of her wrappers on the floor to lay on it. Tola said, No, Ma. You can't sleep on the floor. You can still manage with us on the bed. Our bed is big enough to accommodate 3 of us. Chidi was just there watching the drama, looking surprised. By 5 a.m., Chinyere was awake, and she said with a loud voice, Today is Sunday. We need to do a thorough clean-up to get you prepared for resumption tomorrow. She left for the sitting room as she said, It's 10 minutes past 5. Tola told Chidi that Sunday is always a free day for her, and she wanted to get more sleep, and shortly after then she slept off. At exactly 5:30 a.m., Chinyere opened the door without knocking and said, Tola, are you still sleeping? A virtuous woman wakes up before her husband is awake to put things in order. When she got no response from Tola, she moved closer to her and hit her on her leg with her slippers. Tola reacted angrily as she said, Mama, I need to get some rest. I haven't gotten enough rest since our wedding. Chinyere responded, Wedding is just a ceremony, but marriage is a journey, and how early you start a journey determines how comfortable the journey would be. I would be waiting for you in the parlor. Change your nightwear to the daywear. We are in the day already. Chidi was awake, but wasn't saying anything. Tola said to him, It seems Mama is changing. She wasn't behaving like this when we were in the village. I don't understand the attitude she's putting up right now. Chidi said, My mom is a workaholic. She's only trying to be herself, and to ensure that our home had a good start. We can actually learn a lot from her. Tola replied, I would join her, but not now. I must catch some sleep in order not to break down. Chinyere came in at the time they were discussing and said, I came to Abuja on purpose. Tola, husband's house is not a resting place, is a training center. She held Tola's hand as she said, A strong woman wakes up early. Tola followed her to the parlor murmuring. She asked Tola to sweep and mop everywhere. She promised to join her soon. Chinyere went back to the room to meet Chidi. She laid beside him, and they were gisting and laughing, while Tola sat on the couch thinking about what to do. Her mind was filled with the thought of her mother-in-law's care, love, generosity and understanding she enjoyed when they were together at the village. She then decided to be at peace with her, so that she could learn from her. 3 days later, Tola asked for Chidi's audience when Chinyere left for the bathroom. She asked Chidi if he was comfortable with the way his mom was sleeping on the same bed with them since she arrived when they had 2 other vacant rooms. She complained also about her toxic attitude towards her. At the time Chidi wanted to reply to her, his mother answered from behind, It's a bad wife that discusses her mother-in-law with her husband, so get to the kitchen and cook for us. That's your number 1 office. One Saturday morning, Chinyere invited the 2 of them to the parlor for a short meeting. She said, Your marriage is already 1 month 3 days, and I haven't noticed any changes in Tola's body. Don't you want to be pregnant for my son? She asked. Tola was embarrassed with the question and was expecting Chidi, her husband, to answer, but Chidi was just there not saying anything. Chinyere asked again. I said, Don't you want to be pregnant for my son? Tola got angry and said, I would definitely be pregnant when I and Chidi are ready for it. She then said, I know you want me to move out of your room, but that's not possible because I don't want you to give birth to weaklings. Weak children are gotten at night season. Henceforth, you can do whatever you want to do together in the afternoon, evening, or any other time aside night. So I'm not obstructing anything, I'm only protecting you from having weaklings as children. Tola was surprised at her saying, but she decided to be calm with her, as she always encourages herself to remain patient with her mother-in-law, since she would soon go back to the village. But she was faced with a shocking reality the day Chinyere made mention of her intention of staying with them permanently. Chidi was happy with his mom's decision, as he said, "I've been thinking of how to stop you from doing farm work. Staying with us would sure keep you away from that." One fateful day, Tola decided to visit Chidi at his office to afford them the opportunity to discuss the issues in their home. She said to Chidi, "Allowing your mom to stay with us can never be an issue for me, but it seems you don't notice her excesses." Chidi said the only option we have was to accept her the way she is. The bond she had with me was a strong one, and that can't be broken easily, because after my dad's demise, when I was only 7 years, she sent all my cousins and nephews away to afford her the opportunity to be with me only. I then asked him if I should leave our room for both of them, since she must sleep beside him daily. Chidi said, "If we can dance to her tune, we won't have any issues with her. Her staying with us at night was to prevent us from having weak children. I think we should appreciate her for that." 2 months later, as we were sleeping in the night, I had stomach upset, and before I could get up from bed, I started vomiting and a little part of it mistakenly dropped on her. She hissed at me as she said vomiting during pregnancy is a sign that the child is a weakling and such baby is not welcome in this family. I felt so embarrassed and very lonely as no one cared about my well-being. From that day onward, she started treating me badly. She stopped me from using the washing machine, dishwasher, and most of the time she asked me to trek to the market instead of driving, claiming that all those activities would strengthen my weak baby. 8 weeks later, she instructed Chidi to take me to the hospital for a scan. I was quite happy thinking she was interested in the well-being of my child and myself. I felt so loved and I was blushing as we were leaving the house. On getting back home, Chidi told his mom, "We think we were told at the hospital the expected date of delivery and the gender of the baby, including the size." Chinyere shouted, "God forbid. It's a taboo in our lineage to have a baby girl as the firstborn, and if it happens, the mother or the child would die at birth." I was scared about the discovery and I quickly asked her for the solution. Chidi said, "How come I never knew about this?" Chinyere ignored his question and said to Tola, "The only way out is to abort the child, and thank God, getting rid of the child at this age won't be difficult." Her saying got me thinking and scared, so I left for the room. Chidi came to meet me in the room and said, "Can we go for the abortion now? I think the earlier the better for us." I said, "I'm scared of going through that process. You should have told me about your tradition." He reacted to my last statement and said, "My mom has said it all. We only need to take action now." And as we were discussing, my mother-in-law came in and said, "If you don't want to do it medically, I can cook a particular herb that would take care of it." Chidi quickly said, "That would be better." Then I was left with no option than to agree to their terms, since my life was at stake. That same day I drank the herb, and in few hours, my first child was aborted. I got pregnant again without any sign of morning sickness, so no one noticed it. So I secretly went for a scan, and the scan results showed that I was pregnant with a set of twins, but the genders were not obvious yet. I kept the scan results away from my husband and my mother-in-law, but I was determined to keep this pregnancy come what may. When I got to the office the next day, I decided to open up my predicament to one of my bosses who was from Igbo tribe and got married to a Yoruba woman. I asked about the tradition that my mother-in-law discussed with me, and he said, "There is nothing like that. only that I must pray that God should bless me with the two genders, so as to have the rest of mind, but any gender can come first. They are all blessings from the Lord. He further said that he had 5 children, 3 females first before his 2 boys. I was chilled to my marrow for the loss of my first child, which was due to my ignorance, and I decided to keep my new pregnancy to its full term. My mother-in-law noticed the pregnancy when it was 5 months and asked Chidi to take me to the hospital again in order to know the gender of the child. I privately called the doctor on the phone and begged him not to tell us the gender and the number of the babies. My mother-in-law was disappointed when her son told her that the gender was not known yet. One day, when we were eating together on the dining table, I burped, and my mother-in-law quickly said, "When a pregnant woman burped while eating, that is a sign that she is carrying a weak child." I responded, "Mama, what should I do? I don't want to have a weakling as a child," and she said, "I can abort the child, because the worst thing that can ever happen to any parent is to have a weak child." I responded, "Okay, Mama." Unknown to her and my husband, that conversation was recorded with my phone, and I later sent it to my Igbo boss in the office for record purpose. Weeks later, I overheard her telling my husband to get my consent for the abortion so as to protect me from having a weakling. I came out to meet them and I said, "Nothing should happen to me or my baby because I won't abort this child." Chidi was furious and wanted to hit me for taking back to his mother, and I said, "You can hit me if you want, but I'm not going for abortion." Mama was surprised at my reaction, and she started crying as she said, "I had only one child today because my mother-in-law and my husband didn't protect me from having weak pregnancies. I had 3 miscarriages at almost full term, and that was what got my womb destroyed. I had to move from one prayer house to the other coupled with different appointments with herbalists before I could later have this one child of mine. So my darling, I'm doing all these for you not to experience what I went through. A weak pregnancy would surely get aborted either now or later, and the later may be disastrous." I got confused at her explanation, and I almost gave in for abortion, and as I wanted to respond to her, I was pressed and I needed to ease myself, so I said, "Mama, I'm pressed, I want to ease myself." Immediately I got into the convenience, which was in the sitting room. Chidi said to his mom, "Mom, my dad told me you were barren for 15 years with no sign of conception, which got my dad's mom worried, and was taking you from one spiritualist to another before it was discovered that your womb was shut, due to one abomination act you committed when you were younger. And when you finished doing all the things the spiritualist asked you to do, you became pregnant only once. And I was the product of it, and you were not pregnant again afterwards." His mom responded to him, saying, "You must go with this flow if you don't want to have a weak child. If she aborts this pregnancy, she will definitely have another one." She ends her talk by warning her child never to question her again on anything. "After all, you don't know why I wanted a daughter-in-law from afar." I was surprised at their discussion and was also disappointed in my mother-in-law. When I came out of the toilet, I went straight to my room without talking to them. Chidi came inside and asked if I preferred to take the herbs for the abortion or if I wanted to go to the hospital for it. I chose the hospital, and before we left, I called the doctor and begged him that I didn't want to have an abortion and he should do whatever he can do to help out. On getting to the hospital, the doctor said my pregnancy was already 7 months and the babies and I were doing pretty well, so aborting this pregnancy at the stage is not safe and it's against the law. Chidi explained the doctor's findings to his mom, and his mom got more worried when she heard that I'm pregnant with a set of twins. From then on, I monitored what I ate or drank in the house, so as to avoid being poisoned. The birth of our children, Debbie and Becky, was the beginning of war in my marriage, because it was nothing compared to what I experienced before then. Chinyere, my mother-in-law, was mad at me when she saw that the babies were female and asked Chidi never to accept any responsibility on them because it's a taboo to have a female child as the firstborn in their lineage. Training to children alone was a bitter experience, but I pulled through, and they have made me proud. Amazingly, 18 years after, a new chapter was opened to them. Becky and Debbie walked up to their father Chidi the day they turned 18 years with a legal document which indicated that they were changing their surname to another, claiming that they just found their real father.
To be continued. Stay tuned for part 2.
As I stared at the document in confusion of what to do, my mum shouted at me that I should grab the opportunity to freedom. She said, signing the document would make the children and their mother walk out of your life forever. As we pushed them outside the gate, 2 cars were already waiting for them with 5 policemen who were helping with their luggage. I and my mom were shocked at what we saw.
More videos to watch on this channel are
Intertwined Destiny Twins. I will drop the links in the description below.
Thanks so much for watching. I love you all.